Listen carefully, because this moment is not ordinary. This is not just another message you scroll past, not just another voice speaking into the noise of your day. This is a divine interruption. This is the moment where everything can shift. You are not 10 steps away from your breakthrough. You are not years away from your transformation. You are one decision away from a life so powerful, so elevated, so transformed that the same people who doubted you will struggle to believe what God has done in you. One decision, not 100. Not a lifetime of perfection. One decision, aligned with God, has the power to break chains that have held you for years. One decision can silence fear, uproot doubt, and ignite a fire inside your soul that cannot be extinguished by circumstances, opinions, or limitations. You have underestimated the power of a single moment of surrender. You have underestimated what happens when a human will aligns with divine purpose. There are people watching your life right now who think they understand your limits. They think they have measured your potential. They have already written your story in their minds. But they do not know what God has written. They do not see what God sees. They do not understand that your current condition is not your final position. They see your struggle, but they do not see your seed. They see your delay, but they do not see your destiny. And what they call your weakness, God calls your preparation. You are not waiting for time, you are waiting for a decision. Because time does not change people, decisions do. Time will pass whether you act or not. But transformation comes the moment you decide, I will no longer live beneath what God has placed inside me. That decision becomes a spiritual turning point. That decision shakes the unseen realm. That decision commands your future to align with your calling. There is a voice inside you right now. It has been whispering, sometimes quietly, sometimes urgently. It has been telling you that you are meant for more. Not more in pride, but more in purpose. Not more in ego, but more in obedience. That voice is not confusion. That voice is not imagination. That is the call of God pulling you out of the ordinary and into the extraordinary. But here is the battle. You have also heard another voice, the voice of fear. The voice that tells you, what if you fail? The voice that reminds you of your past mistakes. The voice that magnifies your weaknesses and minimizes your potential. That voice has tried to keep you stuck in hesitation, trapped in analysis, frozen in doubt. But understand this clearly, fear is not sent to guide you. Fear is sent to delay you. Fear is sent to distract you from the one decision that could change everything. You must decide which voice you will obey. Because the difference between the life you are living and the life you cannot even imagine yet is not found in your resources, it is found in your response. When God speaks, your response determines your direction. When God calls, your decision determines your destiny. You are not limited by what you lack. You are limited by what you refuse to act upon. Some of you are waiting for certainty. You are waiting for everything to make sense. You are waiting for confirmation, reassurance, comfort, and guarantees. But God does not move in response to comfort. God moves in response to faith. And faith is not the absence of uncertainty. Faith is the decision to move even when certainty is not present. That is why your decision matters so much. Because when you decide in faith, you activate something that logic cannot produce. You step into a dimension where the impossible begins to bend. You step into a realm where doors open that no human effort could unlock. You step into a flow where provision meets obedience. You have been praying for change, but you have not yet decided for change. You have been asking God to move, but God is waiting for you to move, not because God lacks power, but because your decision is the key that unlocks the next level of your life. God will not force you into your destiny. God invites you into it, and the invitation requires a response. Think about where you are right now. Think about the patterns you have been repeating. Think about the cycles you have been trapped in. Those cycles are not unbreakable. They are waiting for one bold decision. One moment where you say, enough. Enough of living small. Enough of shrinking back. Enough of allowing fear to dictate my future. Enough of compromising what I know God has placed inside me. That moment is powerful. That moment is dangerous to everything that has tried to keep you bound. Because when you truly decide, something shifts inside you. You stop negotiating with fear. You stop entertaining doubt. You stop seeking approval from people who cannot see what God has shown you. And you begin to walk with a different authority, a different confidence, a different fire. You were not created to live a predictable life. You were created to live a purposeful life. And purpose requires decisions that others do not understand. There will be moments when your obedience to God will not make sense to those around you. There will be moments when your choices will look risky, unreasonable, even foolish in the eyes of others. But you are not called to be understood. You are called to be obedient. And obedience unlocks power. When you align your decision with God, you are not stepping into uncertainty. You are stepping into divine order. Even when it looks chaotic on the outside, there is a higher plan unfolding. Even when it feels uncomfortable, there is a deeper transformation taking place. Because God does not call you into comfort, God calls you into growth. And growth always requires a decision to leave what is familiar and step into what is unknown. You cannot carry your old mindset into your new life. You cannot hold on to fear and step into faith at the same time. You cannot delay your decision and expect acceleration in your results. There must be a moment where you draw a line and say, from this point forward, I will trust God more than I trust my fear. That decision is not small. That decision is everything, because once you decide, your actions begin to follow. Your words begin to change. Your focus begins to shift. You start to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You start to recognize doors that were always there, but you were too afraid to walk through. You start to realize that the life you thought was impossible was simply waiting for your agreement. God has already placed greatness inside you, but greatness does not activate itself. It responds to decision. It responds to faith. It responds to action. And the longer you delay your decision, the longer you delay your manifestation. There are people who will say, how did you get here? They will look at your life and they will not understand the transformation. They will not understand how you went from where you were to where you are. They will not understand how doors opened, how opportunities came, how your life shifted so dramatically. But what they do not see is the moment you decided. They do not see the internal battle you fought. They do not see the fear you had to overcome. They do not see the faith you had to activate. But God saw it, God honored it, and God moved because of it. Do not underestimate the power of a private decision. Public results are born from private surrender. The world celebrates outcomes, but God responds to obedience. And your obedience begins with a decision that no one else may even notice. but it changes everything. You are standing at a crossroads right now. One path leads to familiarity, comfort, and limitation. The other path leads to growth, purpose, and transformation. And the difference between those paths is not external, it is internal. It is your decision. What will you choose? Will you choose to remain where you are, explaining your potential, but never living it? Or will you choose to step into what God has already prepared for you? Will you allow fear to write your story? Or will you allow faith to rewrite your future? You cannot wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is created when you decide. You cannot wait for all the answers. The answers come as you move. You cannot wait for fear to disappear. Fear loses its power when you act in spite of it. This is your moment. This is your opportunity to break the cycle, to shift the direction, to align your life with something greater than your current reality. You are not here by accident. You are not hearing this by coincidence. There is a reason this message is reaching you right now. Because deep down, you already know what you need to do. You have felt it. You have sensed it. You have heard it in quiet moments. You have seen glimpses of what your life could be. And now the question is not whether it is possible. The question is whether you will decide. Because the life they will not believe is not built in a day, but it begins in a moment. A moment where you choose faith over fear. A moment where you choose obedience over comfort. A moment where you choose to trust God completely, even when you cannot see the full picture. That moment is here. Do not let it pass. Do not mistake this moment for something casual, because what stands before you right now is a doorway that does not remain open forever. God, in His wisdom, places moments in your life that carry unusual weight, moments where a single response can redirect years, restore what was broken, and release what has been held back. And if you hesitate too long, if you allow fear to speak louder than faith, that moment can pass quietly, leaving you with the painful awareness that you were close, but you did not step forward. Understand this deeply. Your destiny is not blocked by impossibility, it is delayed by indecision. You have not been defeated, you have been undecided. And indecision is more dangerous than failure, because failure can teach you, refine you, and push you forward, but indecision keeps you standing still while everything around you moves. God did not create you to stand at the edge of your purpose, analyzing it, questioning it, and postponing it. God created you to step into it with conviction, even when your hands tremble and your voice shakes. There is a power that is released when a person finally reaches a point where excuses lose their grip. When you stop saying, "I will wait," and you begin to say, "I will move." When you stop saying, "Maybe later," and you declare, "Now." That shift is not just emotional, it is spiritual. Because the moment you align your will with what God has placed in your heart, you activate a flow that cannot be explained by human understanding. Paths begin to form where there were none. Strength begins to rise where there was weakness. Clarity begins to replace confusion. You have been asking for clarity, but clarity often follows commitment. You want to see the full path before you take the first step, but God often reveals the next step only after you move. This is where many lose their moment. They demand visibility when God is calling for trust, but trust is not built in comfort. Trust is proven in movement. When you step forward without having everything figured out, you are making a declaration that your confidence is not in your knowledge, but in God's guidance. There are some decisions that will cost you something. Let that truth settle in your spirit. Every powerful decision carries a cost. It may cost you your comfort. It may cost you certain relationships. It may cost you habits that once felt safe, but are no longer aligned with your future. But what you must understand is this: what you lose in obedience, you will gain in purpose. What you release for the sake of alignment, God will replace with something far greater. Do not cling to what God is asking you to release. That attachment is not protection. It is limitation. You are holding on to things that cannot go where you are being called. And until you let go, you will remain anchored to a level you have already outgrown. God does not ask you to release things to harm you, but to prepare you. Because where you are going requires a different version of you, a stronger mind, a clearer vision, a deeper trust. You cannot step into a life that others will not believe while thinking the same thoughts that kept you in your current place. Your mindset must be transformed before your reality can be transformed. If you continue to see yourself as limited, you will live a limited life. If you continue to believe that you are not ready, you will delay what God has already prepared. But when you begin to see yourself through the lens of purpose, everything begins to shift. You are not ordinary. You were never designed to blend into mediocrity. God does not create without intention, and your existence is evidence that there is something specific you are meant to accomplish. Something that requires your voice, your perspective, your courage. And the tragedy is not that people fail. The tragedy is that many never decide to begin. There is a difference between interest and commitment. Interest listens, feels inspired, and then returns to comfort. Commitment decides, acts, and refuses to go back. You must move beyond interest. You have heard enough. You have felt enough. Now it is time to decide. When you decide, you will feel resistance. Do not be surprised by it. Resistance is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. It is often confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. Because anything that has kept you stuck will not release you easily. Doubt will try to speak louder. Old habits will try to pull you back. People who benefited from your hesitation may not understand your change. But you must remember your responsibility is not to please people, it is to obey God. And when you truly begin to move in alignment, something remarkable happens. Your identity begins to catch up with your decision. You start to become the person you once thought was out of reach. Confidence replaces hesitation. Discipline replaces inconsistency. Vision replaces confusion. Not because everything around you suddenly becomes perfect, but because something inside you has shifted permanently. This is why your decision is so powerful. It does not just change what you do, it changes who you become. Do not wait until you feel fully prepared. Preparation often comes through the process, not before it. If you wait until you feel ready, you may wait forever. But if you step forward in faith, you will grow into the readiness you thought you needed. God equips those who move. Strength is not given to those who sit still, it is developed in those who step out. There are doors in your life that will not open through effort alone. They require alignment. You can work hard and still feel stuck if your decisions are not aligned with your purpose. But when you align, even what seemed difficult begins to flow with a different ease. Because you are no longer forcing your way. You are walking in what was prepared. You have been measuring your life by what you see, but there is more happening than what is visible. There are opportunities forming, connections aligning, paths being cleared, but they are waiting for your agreement. They are waiting for you to step into position. God does not force alignment, He invites it. And your decision is your agreement. Say to yourself with conviction, I will not delay what I know I must do. Let that become your standard. Let that become your response every time fear tries to whisper. Because fear will not disappear, it will lose authority. It will still speak, but it will no longer control. There is something powerful about a person who has decided, not partially decided, not emotionally convinced for a moment, but fully, deeply, unshakably decided. That kind of decision carries weight. That kind of decision moves you forward even when your feelings fluctuate. Because your movement is no longer based on how you feel, it is based on what you know. And what you know is this: God did not place this vision in your heart for you to ignore it. God did not allow you to see more just so you could settle for less. God did not bring you this far just to leave you where you are. You are one decision away, not from a small improvement, not from a slight change, but from a life that will leave people questioning how it happened. And the answer will not be luck. It will not be coincidence. It will be obedience. It will be the moment you stopped hesitating and started moving. So do not shrink back now. Do not return to comfort now. Do not silence the voice that has been calling you forward. This is your moment to rise, to act, to align. This is your moment to trust God with a level of boldness you have never embraced before. And when you take that step, when you make that decision with full conviction, watch how your life begins to unfold in ways you could not have imagined, in ways that cannot be explained, in ways that will stand as undeniable evidence of what happens when a person decides to trust God completely and move without looking back. There comes a moment in every life when the excuses that once felt valid begin to lose their power, when the reasons you used to justify delay start to sound hollow, and when the truth rises so clearly within you that you can no longer pretend you do not hear it. That moment is not meant to condemn you. It is meant to awaken you. It is the mercy of God pulling you out of distraction and calling you into alignment. And when that awakening comes, you must not turn away from it. You must not silence it. Because that inner stirring is not pressure, it is direction. You have been trained by your past to be cautious, to hesitate, to calculate every risk. But there are decisions that cannot be made by calculation alone. There are moments where logic will stand still, unable to move you forward, and only trust in God will carry you into the next dimension of your life. You cannot analyze your way into destiny. You must step into it. And that step will require courage that does not come from your circumstances. It comes from your connection to God. The truth is, many people are not lacking opportunity. They are lacking boldness. They are surrounded by possibilities, but imprisoned by hesitation. They are standing at the edge of transformation, but held back by the fear of discomfort. But listen carefully, comfort has never produced greatness. Comfort has never revealed purpose. Comfort has never awakened destiny. It is in the moments where you stretch beyond what is familiar, where you risk stepping into the unknown, that you begin to discover the depth of what God has placed inside you. You cannot continue to treat your calling as something optional. It is not a suggestion, it is a responsibility. When God places something within you, it is not for you alone. It is meant to flow through you, to impact others, to bring change, to reflect something greater than yourself. And every day you delay, you are not just postponing your own transformation, you are withholding what someone else may need. There are people connected to your future who are waiting for your decision. They may not know your name yet. They may not see you right now, but your obedience is part of a larger design that extends beyond what you can currently see. When you move, it creates movement in places you are not even aware of. When you align, it unlocks doors not just for you, but for others who will be affected by your journey. This is why your decision carries weight. It is not just personal, it is purposeful. Do not allow your past to define the boundaries of your future. What has happened before this moment does not have the authority to dictate what happens next. Mistakes, delays, missed opportunities, these are not final sentences. They are chapters that can be rewritten when you decide to move differently. God is not limited by your history. God is not confined by your past choices. What matters now is what you choose in this moment. You must break your agreement with limitation. You must refuse to identify with the version of yourself that no longer aligns with where you are going. Because if you continue to see yourself through the lens of who you used to be, you will resist becoming who you are meant to be. Identity is powerful. It shapes your decisions, your actions, your expectations. And when your identity shifts, your life begins to follow. Say within yourself, with certainty, I am no longer who I was. Not in arrogance, but in awareness. Not in pride, but in purpose. Because growth requires separation from old patterns. You cannot carry the weight of your old mindset into the elevation God has prepared for you. It will slow you down. It will distort your vision. It will make you doubt what you are capable of achieving. There is also something you must understand about timing. Not every moment is equal. There are moments that carry a different kind of urgency, a different kind of significance. And when those moments arrive, hesitation becomes more costly. You must learn to recognize when God is calling you to act now, not later, not eventually, not when everything feels perfect. Now, because delay can become a habit, and the more you delay, the easier it becomes to continue delaying. But when you break that pattern, when you make a decisive move, you interrupt that cycle, you create momentum, and momentum is powerful. Once it begins, it carries you forward with increasing strength. But momentum requires a start, and that start is your decision. You will not feel the full strength at the beginning. You will not see the full results immediately. But do not measure your progress by immediate outcomes. Measure it by your consistency in moving forward. Because every step you take in alignment with God builds something within you. It strengthens your trust. It sharpens your focus. It deepens your resilience. There will be days when it feels difficult. There will be moments when you question whether you made the right choice. But understand this, difficulty is not a sign that you should turn back. It is part of the process that shapes you into someone who can sustain the life you are stepping into. Because what God prepares for you requires capacity. And capacity is built through challenge, through persistence, through unwavering commitment. Do not be discouraged by slow beginnings. Every great transformation starts in a way that does not appear impressive to the outside world. But what matters is not how it looks in the beginning. It is what it becomes over time. And what it becomes is determined by whether you continue or whether you quit. You must make a decision, that is not dependent on your emotions, because emotions will rise and fall. There will be days when you feel strong and days when you feel uncertain. But your decision must remain steady. It must be rooted in something deeper than temporary feelings. It must be anchored in your trust in God. When your decision is anchored, your direction becomes clear. You stop drifting. You stop being pulled in different directions by every opinion, every doubt, every fear. You become focused. And focus is powerful. Because when your energy is not scattered, it becomes concentrated. And concentrated effort produces results that scattered effort never could. There is a version of your life that you have seen in your heart, a life of impact, of growth, of purpose. That vision is not random. It is not a distraction. It is an invitation. But that invitation requires acceptance. And acceptance is not just a thought, it is a decision followed by action. You must move from imagining to embodying, from hoping to doing, from waiting to stepping. And when you do, something remarkable will begin to happen. The same things that once intimidated you will start to lose their power. The same fears that once controlled you will begin to fade. Not because they disappear completely, but because you have grown stronger than them. You have chosen to rise above them. This is what it means to step into a life they will not believe. It is not about perfection. It is about transformation. It is about becoming someone who no longer lives controlled by hesitation, but guided by conviction. Someone who does not shrink in the face of uncertainty, but moves forward with trust in God. And as you continue, you will look back and realize that the life you once thought was impossible became your reality, not all at once, but one decision at a time, one step at a time, one moment of courage at a time. So stand firm in this truth. You are not far away. You are not disqualified. You are not too late. You are one decision away. And that decision is not waiting for a better version of you. It is waiting for the version of you who is willing to trust God now, move now, and refuse to look back as everything begins to change in ways that will leave no doubt that your life has entered a dimension that only God could have orchestrated. Now listen with your whole heart, because this is where everything comes together. This is where the distance between who you are and who you are meant to be collapses into a single, defining moment. You have heard the truth. You have felt the stirring. You have recognized the call. Do not let this become another moment of inspiration that fades when the noise of life returns. Let this become the moment of decision that marks the turning point of your life. Stand where you are, not physically but spiritually, and examine yourself with honesty. Not the kind of honesty that condemns, but the kind that awakens. Ask yourself, where have I been holding back? Where have I allowed fear to speak louder than my trust in God? Where have I delayed what I already know I must do? Do not rush past these questions, because within them lies the key to your transformation. God is not asking you for perfection. God is asking you for surrender. Not partial, not conditional, not delayed, but complete. A surrender that says, I trust you more than my doubts. I trust you more than my fears. I trust you more than my need to understand everything before I move. That kind of surrender is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form, because it places your life in the hands of the one who sees beyond what you can see. You have carried hesitation long enough. You have negotiated with fear long enough. You have stood at the edge long enough. Now is the time to step. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more ready, not when circumstances become easier. Now. Because this moment carries a weight that cannot be replaced. This is the moment where you either rise into alignment or remain in delay. Make the decision that future generations in your life will be grateful for. Make the decision that breaks patterns that have lasted longer than they should. Make the decision that reflects your trust in God, not your fear of the unknown. Because when you decide with that level of conviction, something shifts not only around you, but within you. You begin to walk differently. You begin to speak differently. You begin to see yourself not as someone who hopes for change, but as someone who has already stepped into it. Let your heart be filled with this unshakable truth. God did not bring you to this moment to leave you unchanged. God did not allow you to hear this call just to test your emotions. This is an invitation to transformation. This is a call to rise. This is your moment to align your life with a purpose that is greater than your fears, greater than your doubts, greater than anything that has tried to hold you back. So take that step, make that decision. Silence every voice that tells you to wait, to doubt, to hesitate. And listen only to the voice that calls you forward, the voice that reminds you that you were created with intention, that your life carries meaning, that your future holds more than your past has ever revealed. And as you move, do not look back. Do not question what you have already decided. Walk with certainty, knowing that when you trust God and act with courage, you are not walking alone. You are being guided, strengthened, and positioned for a life that will stand as a testament, not to your ability, but to your obedience. Let this be the moment where everything changes, not because the world around you suddenly becomes different, but because you have chosen to become different. Let this be the moment where you stop standing at the door and finally walk through it. Let this be the moment where your faith becomes action, where your calling becomes reality, where your decision becomes the beginning of a life so transformed, so elevated, so aligned with God, that it leaves a mark that cannot be erased and a story that cannot be denied.